beautiful. It's just the more I think about God's love and how He loves us, the more it just blows my mind. Really. Because as humans, what do we see in love? Like how do we consider love? How do we show somebody we love somebody? As moms, we think about it as, well, we sacrifice for our kids. We put our kids' needs in front of our own. We give them what they need and stuff like that. When it comes to our siblings, we might mess with each other, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, we're going to be there for each other, It's like we can call our siblings names, but if somebody else calls them a name, watch out, Spouses, what can you say? You put up with each other. It's all the above. You support each other. You help each other. You're there for each other. Friendships, it's like when you think about friendships, and it's like it's the person who's always there. It's the person that's just there. They're constant in our lives. And it's funny because human love changes. It really does. Because the moment that friend stops being so friendly, we're out. All right, well, we're no longer on the same path. Got to part ways, Well, sadly, we see a lot of marriages fall apart because there is no love. But when we look at God, He is constant. God has never changed. His love for His creation has never changed. Even though, thankfully, we didn't live in the Old Testament. I probably would have been the ones where the ground opened up and it just swallowed me alive. Though we did not live in the Old Testament, if you look at God as a whole, He did that because, hey, He judged the sin. But look at the love, how He always turned back to them. Always, always, always. How did God love us? How did God show us His love? And I want to go to Romans chapter 5. And His love is so powerful. Love is the most powerful emotion we can feel, but it's not just an emotion, it's a force. It's a force. Romans chapter 5, I'm going to be in verse 6. For when we were still without strength, in due time, Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet perhaps for a good man someone would even dare die. Christ came as a man while we were still in that state of sin. So when we were still wretched, when we were still morally diseased, and we were powerless against sin. Think about it. Before we came to Christ, I did not know what was right from wrong. I really didn't. Now, I can feel guilt when I did something really bad. When I did something really, really bad, I felt guilt. I felt shame. But I did not know any other way. I didn't know that there was another way of life. I didn't know that there was something else out there. So what do? You get up, you try not to do the same things, but you do it anyway, right? You get drunk, wake up with a hangover. That's the worst thing. I don't remember what I did. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what I said. That's just a horrible feeling to wake up like that. So what do you do later that day? Do it again. You know what I mean? You do it again. And it's like bad relationships. Oh no, I'm not going to go back into no bad relationship. But because you're lost, you're lonely, you're hurting, you need to fill that void, what do? You find yourself back into another messed up relationship because you're trying to fill a void. We had no strength no power against sin. We didn't have it. So while we were powerless, he came and he died for us. Scarcely for a good man will somebody dare die. Well, I'm sorry. Even if you're a good person, I don't think I can find myself just willingly putting myself in your place. Now, if it's my kids, what happens if somebody comes and tries to mess with your kids? Like Mama Bear comes out, right? Mama Bear comes out. You're not thinking about your life. You're not thinking about what could or couldn't happen. The thing you're thinking about, it's me or you. Because it surely ain't going to be my kid. You know what I'm saying? That just comes out. That instinct comes out. And Christ did it for all. He did it for the rapist. He did it for the murderer. He did it for the drunkard. He did it for the drug addict. He did it for the prostitute. He did it for every person that's broken. Christ came and died for us that were broken. And this is the beauty about God's love. We look at somebody and we judge them by what they look like. You know what? They're on the street because they want to be and this and that. Okay, well, some of them are making the choice. They are. But what about the ones that didn't make the choice? See, Christ came and died for the ones that made that choice and for the ones that didn't make that choice. He sees and he wants to give them a way out. That is God's love for us. He came and he wanted to give us a way out. Verse 8. But God demonstrates his own love towards us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Much more than having now been justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. God's love. It means God exercised his love towards us. It's an action. Love is action. When you think about exercise, you're thinking you're on a machine, you're running, you're doing something physical. Christ came physically. And he walked it out. He walked out this love that he had between him and the Father. He walked out this love that they felt towards their creation. Now, we were still in a messed up state. We had no clue that something great was coming. As a matter of fact, when it was here, they could not grasp it. They could not understand it. God came and he looked at his creation. And he said, there is only one answer. If it kept continuing to be the slaughtering of the animal, that would only cover it. It would only, it was only a temporary fix. It was putting a Band-Aid on something that was still a wound. Only Christ was worthy enough to come and take our place. Think about it. Somebody worthy enough to take the sin of the world away. He came and he showed us his love by him doing what was best for us. He gave us a way out. He broke the power that sin had over us. He broke the power of Satan. He broke and he took away the sting of death. We no longer have to fear death because now we can rejoice when we pass if we know the Lord. Now there's rejoicing. There's no more fear. The power that sin had over our lives, the bondage that we were in, because we didn't know how to get out of it. But the moment that somebody told us the good news about Jesus Christ and about what he did for us, that's the moment we were set free from the power of sin. He has given us the ability to do it. In verse 10, for if we, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God through the death of his Son, much more, having been reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. Even though we were his enemies, even though we did not believe in him necessarily, we heard of him. Growing up, we heard of him. But we didn't follow, we didn't obey, and we didn't care. I mean, I didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know better. But because of his love, he took our sin upon himself. The Bible says that he took the sin, he became sin. He became the sin. And he nailed it to the cross. Only he could do that. At one of our retreats, we did a little baggie and we put all our issues in it. We put all our issues, and one by one, we took a nail and we nailed it to the cross. See, that was a physical of what Christ already did. Christ already did that. He nailed our sin to the cross. We don't have to take it back. We don't have to go and grab it and say, let me look through my little baggie of messes. You know what I mean? Leave it at the cross. Leave it at the cross. He already took it. He took it upon himself. He became our reconciliation. He became what makes us whole. He's the one that redeemed us and restored a broken relationship that humans had with the Father. See, because of what Adam did, there was a broken relationship. But because of what Christ did, he restored the relationship. And now me and you have the freedom to come into his presence. Because of what he did, now we have peace with the Father. There is a peace between us and the Father. And we no longer have his wrath waiting for us. Jesus Christ appeased the Father, and the wrath was taken away from us. What? Wow. It's like if you look at a child and this child steals from you, and this child is always causing trouble, and this child is always doing the worst of the worst to your family. And you have to say, nah, you have to get out of the house. You're causing too much chaos in the home. But then you see your child and you give him another chance. And another chance. That's the kind of love God has for his children. That's the kind of love where he looks at them and says, man, you're messed up. I'm not going to just leave you like that. You're messed up. You need help, and only I can give you that help. Nobody else can give you that. Nobody else can take away your sin. Nobody else can remove wrath from us. We were born into sin. And we did all the bad things. Even when we know better. We can have parents that teach us right, and we still end up making our own bad mistakes, our own bad decisions. And we're just like, why didn't I listen? Why this? Why that? Right? It's God making the way for us. This reconciliation gives us the ability to change. Transformation. See, before Jesus Christ, we can reform, but we cannot transform. Only the Spirit of God gives us the ability to get transformed. Because reformation is we do it in our own understanding. I'm an alcoholic. It's bad for me. I'm going to stop. So you stop. But give enough temptation, there's a possibility of falling back into it. Right? Transformation looks at that and says, I never want to go back to it. God, I need your strength to give me strength to say no. Every day. Every day. So God gives us the transformation through his Spirit working in us. And if we look at the disciples, before they were filled with the Spirit, they were a little messed up. Jesus at one point even told them, how much longer do I have to put up with you? Why aren't you getting it? Why aren't you understanding? But we can still struggle. even though we have the Spirit of God, even though we've come to know about His love, sometimes it's hard to fully receive it. Sometimes it's hard to fully understand how much He loves us. See, because humans, we have this understanding of love, and God goes beyond our understanding. It's like He defies all logic, and when we try to wrap our mind around, did you really come and die for me? Did you really wash away all my sins? Can I really stand in your presence and be clean? How? God, do you know who I am? Have you seen what I've done? How can you do that? So sometimes we still struggle to truly believe that God has something good for us. And we can be in a room full of people that are like, man, God is awesome, God is great, God did this, God did that. And then there's always that one. Well, I can't believe it until I see it. So we go to doubting Thomas. So I want to turn to John chapter 20, verse 24. This is after Christ had risen, and He was showing up to His disciples. Now Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said to Him, "We have seen the Lord." So He said to them, "Unless I see in His hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and put my hand into His side, I will not believe." And after 8 days, His disciples were again inside, and Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, "Peace to you." Okay, think about this. Think about this. You're in a room, okay, it's like this. We have the door closed. All of a sudden, Jesus appears. The door never opened. What? Okay. Some will freak and say it's a ghost. Some will freak and say it's a devil. That's our first human nature instinct. So Christ was already showing up to people, and they were telling Thomas, He rose. He did what He told us He was going to do. And He's just like, yeah, okay, all right. Completely not believing it, saying, if it's true, I want to put my fingers and my hands in the holes where they pierced His side, where they nailed Him. If I touch that, I'll know it's true. God, if you're real, you need to do this and this and this and this and that, and I'll believe. And then He does some of it, and what do? What? Okay, well, let me think about this. I still need you to do this and this and this and that. And now we add more to the list, right? That's just how we are. But this is Christ. Then He said to Thomas, "Reach your finger here." See, Christ was not in the room when Thomas said this. Christ knows your heart. This is how much He loves us. He knows what's in our heart. He says, "Reach your finger here and look at my hands, and reach your hand here and put it into my side. Do not be unbelieving, but believing." And Thomas answered and said to Him, "My Lord and my God." Imagine this. God being so good enough, even though you're doubting me, Thomas, here, feel me, here. I will give you what you need so you can believe who I am. So that you can believe not only that I am all that I said I am, but that I know your heart, I know your motives, I know your thoughts, I know them from afar. And I come to you and I meet you right where you're at, Thomas. I'm meeting you right where you're at. And Jesus said to him, "Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." We are blessed today. We did not get to see Christ crucified. As a matter of fact, I'm probably grateful for that too, because I would have been one of those doubting people. This is something that had never been done before. But yet Christ did it. He did what had never been done before. And then he took the power of death and he rose. And when he rose, he came to meet his beloved. He came and met them face to face, just to seal what he had done those 3 years before that. Thomas was with him every day, seeing the ministry of Jesus grow, seeing everything that Christ had to go through. When he died for them, that was the end. But Jesus Christ rose and showed up to them again and said, it's not over, it's only beginning. So in your doubt, know that he will come to meet you. Sometimes we doubt because we're facing something hard and we don't know how to believe in the impossible. Things just seem to get worse. I remember at one time I hated praying for my marriage because it seemed like the more I prayed for it, the worse it got. I'm just going to be honest. But I look at us today, God is faithful. He met me in my doubt. He met me in my anger. He met me in my disappointment. He met me in my pain. And he told me, don't give up. He told me, keep believing. He told me, blessed are you if you believe. Blessed are you if you believe. What does that mean? It means Christ is saying, blessed are you if you have faith and trust. Blessed are you if you trust in him. Blessed are you if you believe and have faith in him. See, he already did the hard part for us. He already did the hard part. He already demonstrated his love for me and you. What more can he do to demonstrate more love? He already did the hardest thing. But yet, even though he had suffered and he had died, he still came to his disciple. He still came to him. So though he's already showed you the greatest love possible, God is still going to meet you where you're at. God is still going to see your hurt. God is still going to see your pain. Now, if we're doubting out of rebellion, that's one thing. Now, we're going to face God in a whole different way. Because God is not the little meek God that they try to put on as he's weak. He is the creator of heaven and earth. He has the power to give life and take it. He has become judge of the world. He's not weak, but he is all powerful. So if we come against him in pride, he is all powerful to come against that pride. But if we are weak because we just don't understand, and because we're broken and because we're hurting, he comes and he gives us just enough to believe him. Because it wasn't until Christ came and did this for Thomas, then he said, my God and my Lord. What do we do when all of a sudden God comes and changes our situation or changes our heart or changes our mind? We become grateful. We say, God, you are real. God, you are faithful. You are good. But does he change in our situation? Just because our situation doesn't change, is he not good? He's still good. And that's what he's saying. Thomas, you're saying I'm good because I did something for you. But Thomas, blessed are those who have faith and trust in me, even when it doesn't seem like it's good. So if me and you are facing situations, do we have faith in him? Do we have trust in him? Or are we saying, God, I'm only going to believe if you do this for me? Now, God will meet you, but blessed will we be if we believe and we have faith and we have trust even when we don't see it. And this is what I love about who Jesus Christ is and why he did what he did. The encouraging part for me is Christ understands our weakness. Christ understands what we go through. And because of the love, he came and suffered like we do. I want to turn to Hebrews chapter 2, verse 16. And it says, "For indeed, he does not give aid to angels, but he does give aid to the seed of Abraham. Therefore, in all things, he had to be made like his brethren," that's me and you, "that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make propitiation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself has suffered, being tempted, he is able to aid those who are tempted." Because Christ experienced the same things me and you have experienced. He experienced hunger. He experienced pain. He experienced rejection. He experienced all these things. He experienced the Garden of Gethsemane. If this cup can pass me by, if there is another way. But nevertheless, God, let it be your will, not mine. Do we understand? Christ can relate to us. See, have you ever had that argument with God when you're going through something so hard? You don't understand God. You don't understand what I'm going through. And then he starts to remind you of the scriptures. I have nothing else to say. What I am doing, though, is repenting. You went through worse, not me. I just need to be grateful. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to experience that. I even look at the disciples. No thanks, I'm good. All right, Lord, this little thing of mine, it's nothing. I'll change my mind real quick. See, he experienced what we've experienced. He was in the human form. He put away his God powers. Because we can't kill God. Nobody can kill God. But we can kill the flesh. So he became man. So he can relate to me and you. And it says, "For in that he himself has suffered being tempted, he is able to aid those who are tempted." Now this temptation, this tempted does not mean tempted into sin. That's not what it means. Because a lot of times when we think about temptation, we think of sin. No, this is talking about being tried. So, because he himself was tried, he knows what it feels like to have to keep our confidence in God when it gets hard. See, Christ had to suffer. He experienced the evil in this world because they killed him. They murdered him. He experienced it. He experienced all the rejection. He experienced, though he had people around him, he experienced the loneliness. He experienced all those things that we suffer. He experienced those things. So when we're going through hard things in life, he is able to help us. See, like if you bump into somebody, you hurt for them. But if you've never walked that, if you've never actually experienced it, you can't even begin to truly understand what they're experiencing. And even like in a house, you grow up in a house and all of you experience the same situations, but everybody comes out of it different. You get those that never recover from that experience. You get those that are like, nah, I'm not going to be the victim. You know, you get all the different things. People come out differently from each experience. So even if we experience the same thing, we still experience it differently. This is why we need a Christ in our life. This is why we need God in our life. Because he created us. That means he knows us. He knows us. You can live with somebody all of your life and still feel like they don't know you. And not because they don't want to or they're not trying. It's simply because they can't. See, God left a little hole in our heart that was meant to help you. Just their presence alone. But then when you have it, it still doesn't satisfy. Why is it that in marriages we can still get lonely? Why is it in marriages we still feel like we could be on two different pages? Because they still can't fill the void. See, when God is filling the void, all of a sudden you're not putting all that pressure on your spouse or on your friends or on anybody else. You're not wanting your children to fill your void. You're not wanting your grandchildren to fill your void. You're not wanting your spouse or anybody in your life to fill that void. As a matter of fact, they become a blessing to your life. They fill up all the other spots. But the main one, only God can fill. God is able to help you where you're at. See, people can be with us and still not know how to help us. How many times have I cried out, I wish somebody could just help me the way I need it. And the help never comes. And I'm like, God, why? He's like, because you're looking to others to help you when I'm the one that's supposed to help you. And I'm just like, God, you're right. I'm putting my eyes everywhere, and I start feeling frustration within my relationships of people. And it's because I'm putting that pressure on them that doesn't belong to them. It's not for them. We're here to love each other. We're here to help each other. But if it's not God's love filling us, we're not going to know how to help each other. We're really not. See, the beauty about the church of God, and the only way a church can function at its best, is when it's the love of God flowing through us. See, because God's love doesn't change. So even if one of your brothers or sisters come in differently and all of a sudden they're giving you the side eye, and all of a sudden, like Bethany was talking about, it's true. 5 years later, she's still looking at me all like crazy, like, what's your motive? And I'm thinking, are you serious? But it was the love of God that was in me that kept reaching out anyway. It wasn't my love. My love would be like, I don't need this. You know what I'm saying? I don't need this. God's love says, she needs it. She needs it. She needs it. See, so when God's love is flowing, because we've learned to make him our source of what love is, because we've learned that we believe and we have faith and we have trust in him, all the other things, in spite of our doubts, we're going to know he's going to come. And he's going to rescue over and over and over again. God has rescued me time and time and time again. And sometimes he has to rescue me from me. Because I put myself in a hole. I put myself in a little self-pity mode. Woe is me, poor me, I'm dealing with this and I'm carrying the weight of the world. But he just comes and he just gives me what I need. He opens my eyes to see I'm not alone. He opens my eyes to show me I'm right here. He shows me if I need something, he gives me that. If I need a friendship, he gives me the love of a friendship. If I need a provider, he brings in the provision. See, he's all powerful. But that's when I believe in him. When I turn to him. When I am allowing myself to see what he's already done for me. Christ has already done this for us. God demonstrated his love for me and you. He exercised it. He walked it out. See, a lot of times we just tell people, I love you. I love you. We just throw that around. You hear the kids now these days, a week into just getting to know each other and talking, they're like, oh, I love you. I'm so in love. 2 weeks later, they're broken up. Right? It's like, oh, what happened? I thought you were in love. They're like, nah, I moved on. See, that love is an action. Love is commitment. The Lord committed himself to his creation. And he did it all the way. All the way. And he's still doing it for us today. Why do you think we're here? Why do you think we're here? Because he demonstrated it to us personally. And if not, we're here because we need that touch. And sometimes when God comes and demonstrates his love to us, because we've been so hurt, sometimes we don't know how to receive his love. But his love is the only thing that's going to make you whole. His love is the only thing that's going to make you complete. His love is the only thing that's going to give you the strength in your weakness. His love gives you the strength to overcome. His love gives you the strength to say no. His love gives you the strength to say, I can't walk anymore, but God, you're with me, so I'm going to take my step. I don't know if I have 2 steps in me, but if I can only take that 1 step, I'm going to do it. And you do it, and you feel him arise inside of you, and you feel his voice telling you, keep going, keep pressing in, keep pushing. And at the end of time, we're going to be with him forever and ever and ever. See, God is constant. He was with us from the beginning. He's with us right now, and he's going to be with us at the end. We might not be able to say the same about each other, because at some point or another, we have to go. Unless God takes the church. But until then, the only person that's going to be constant in our life from beginning to end is the Lord. And he is the founder and he is the perfecter of our faith. And for that alone, we should give him glory. Amen. Mighty God.